Also, is that a person down there? I think there's another person here up front. Do you see that guy down there? I guess we're not. I don't know. I thought we would be alone here, but I guess not.
All right. I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes I will watch movies and I will see certain parts in a movie, but I won't remember what movie it's from, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen a scene like this before. Sometimes it's like a super obscure movie and you're like,
is that Northern Lion?
I have no clue, I just know I've seen it somewhere. And I have this feeling often with Dracula. I swear I've seen Dracula or Nosferatu do every little thing they do in all these movies.
Who's he
like
talking
classic,
to?
I can't have a mirror,
Wait, I think he's... Wait, Shadow, I think that's a famous streamer up there. I think he's talking to a Twitch chat too. That's so weird. What the hell? How are you doing, Shadow? Are you feeling okay?
I don't understand how a movie can be scary if the characters in the movie are not scared. Whenever I see Dracula or Nosferatu and it's all over the place like blood, bleed, I think to myself, wow, they must be getting so
Is he gonna be talking the whole movie? He's just been talking non-stop since the movie started.
So I like to be scared by characters that are scared instead. That's why I would highly recommend The Grudge.
Shadow becomes even more shocked at the information, his brow raising even more, glancing at the figure again. The whole time?
He's been talking a bunch.
Nosferatu is a really good movie, but I feel like Dracula does a lot of scenes better. Nosferatu's Dracula, Karloff,
Shadow continues to stare at the figure in the front row in complete and utter shock, his eyes still very wide as they remain locked on the person.
Sometimes I just have that feeling that the pacing of Dracula
talk like that
if that
during
makes
a
sense.
silent
If you're a fan of either, though,
movie.
I would think you'd enjoy the other, and there's no need to compare them.
I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Well, I don't know. I guess since it's a silent movie, we don't have to pay attention too much. We could just, you know.
I think Nosferatu gets a bit of an unfair shake in the movie community because it almost invented the vampire genre. And since then, there's been Dracula remakes and the vampire craze in the 90s and stuff. I think it gets compared a lot to really famous movies and is often overlooked.
I think it's because he really likes movies and he just knows a lot about movies, is why he's talking. Oh,
Shadow becomes even more shocked, although this time it's a mixture of being shocked and slightly nervous. How is he not aware that we're
Well, one thing I
here?
do like is how the movie doesn't spend a lot of time trying to explain the supernatural elements of the story. A lot of horror movies these days will get bogged down with exposition that feels like you're smarter than this. Nosferatu does kind of just assume you're a thinking person and will figure out what's going on as you're watching it. It's nice when you don't have to watch a movie spoon-feeding a whole bunch of exposition and explanations to you.
Shadow glances away from the figure, becoming less surprised by the movie now, sighing quietly. To the movie? It's fine, a little weird, I guess.
Do you feel comfortable around me?
Shadow slowly nods, his quiet, soft voice becoming a little less quiet and soft. Yeah, I'm just a little nervous sometimes.
That's totally okay. You can be nervous. I know you've been nervous this whole day. Do you think it's just because you have a lot of pressure on you from your work?
This is going to sound like blasphemy, but I kind of like the way old school horror movies didn't always have super high production value.
This is a pretty good movie.
Okay, the way Nosferatu is like 3-4 good and then just like randomly sucks is so funny to me. Like you have like a solid third of the movie, hell, maybe even more than that. That's just so tense and so good. And then it just like hits a wall. All right, I have another confession to make. I think Dracula is a better horror movie than Nosferatu. Like, Nosferatu is incredible, but
he already said this earlier.
I think the first good movie came out. If I had to put an age on it, I'm gonna say probably 1965.
Everyone's saying slap his bald head.
Shadow becomes even more shocked at the information, his brow furrowing deeply. He's been talking the whole time.
Nano. In front of us, we're at the movie right now. In front of us is, I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's Northern Lion. And he just keeps talking. He just keeps saying stuff about the movie. I'm too afraid to tell him to stop.
Oh my god, Northern Lion. HHH 笑得满地打滚 Oh, James, if I were there in person, I'd write off his little bald head and say, Hey, Barbie, stupid, let my BBY alien James enjoy his stateless shadow.
Okay, I just have to speak my mind about Nosferatu. So one of my favorite elements of the movie is the score. One of the things about 1920s horror is that the soundtrack is super minimal. So like you have a piano and then sometimes a violin, but I think it's hilarious that sometimes in Nosferatu they just have like a bagpipe playing in the background for a full minute. I think it's the perfect example of old B-movie scores, LOL.
What? This isn't a B movie. What the fuck is he talking about? You smell really good, Shadow.
Shadow becomes very embarrassed again when the human mentions that he smells good, him becoming extremely self-conscious about his smell. He glances down at his body, wondering if he actually does smell good, or if the human is just being nice. You think so?
Yeah, I think so. I think you smell really good.
Shadow blinks a few times when the human mentions that they think he smells good again, becoming more embarrassed and more flattered when the human keeps reassuring him. Thanks. I'm definitely glad to hear that. I always try to smell good.
Shadow, do you want to kiss me?
Shadow becomes extremely shocked and surprised by the question, his body going completely stiff, his face become extremely red as his eyes go wide as he stares at the human, just barely able to nod his head very, very slowly.
Nosferatu is over. Okay, guys, sorry I had to take my break to go to the
Shadow, that was really nice, but oh my god. Why is he back here?
Shadow immediately becomes extremely annoyed again when the human mentions that the person is back, his brow furrowing as he grumbles under his breath. Damn it.
I've been like, I keep on hearing him. I don't even know what's going on in the movie right now. I'm so lost.
Nosferatu is a good movie, but sometimes there's no sound effects at all, no music at all, which sometimes makes for kind of a weird viewing experience.
It's
sometimes
a silent movie. What is he talking? What is he talking about?
Okay, there's no tension, no music, literally nothing is happening right now. And it kind of creates this weird feeling of, well, what am I supposed to be feeling right now? Sometimes I think it would have helped a lot of the movie had more little sound effects or background noise to let the viewer know there's suspense.
I mean, I don't know. This is an old movie. They didn't have sound effects back then, so it's kind of hard to... Yeah, I don't know. I think it's pretty eerie without sound effects.
I think my main critique of Nosferatu is that the pacing at the very end of the film is kind of inconsistent. Like the movie can be on and on for an hour and a half, and then the last 15 minutes will go by like lightning. I don't love the ending to Nosferatu, but I don't hate it. I think there's just kind of a weird pacing towards the end.
Why? We haven't even got to the ending. Why does he keep on really talking about the ending of the movie?
And it's kind of weird. When I go back and watch it, sometimes I'll just be like, okay, they literally spent 10 minutes just setting up this one scene.
Well, the ending better be... I don't get it. He says the ending is good, but then he's like, the ending is bad. Are you at least having fun, Shadow? I don't know. Maybe he doesn't seem to like the movie so much.
In old horror movies, I will have to rewind and replay the scene a few times just to understand it, because sometimes movies were very bad at explaining a scene. Like, there are a couple scenes in the beginning of Nosferatu where I was like, okay, what is this supposed to be? Because they are so
Shadow
vague.
sighs,
And I'm
becoming
one of those
slightly
people that has
irritated
a
at
lot
the
easier
annoying
time
person in the front
understanding
row.
movies when I'm not
It was
thinking too much.
fine
Then
and
sometimes the movies will just
enjoyable
fall apart and have
until
me going, okay,
he
what the hell
started
is this scene trying to
talking
say?
the whole time.
I really hate how inconsistent the movie is with its sound effects, because sometimes you'll have music that adds a lot to the ambiance of a scene, but then sometimes you'll just
There's
kind of
no
have
sound
dead
effects in
silence some
this.
scenes. And I just want there to be like a consistent set of sound effects, so the viewer always feels like they know what to expect and when there will or won't be any music. One of my little criticisms
There's
with
been
old
music the
horror
whole
or old
time.
anything,
The set design though is really good. Even for being an older movie, like every scene looks
I
really
kind of
nice.
just think of Nosferatu like Bloodborne, just because there's this long stretch of the game where you're just kind of wandering around, exploring.
Oh, he stopped talking. I think he might be. I think he might be actually watching the movie now. Thank God.
Nosferatu is a good movie, but I wouldn't watch it at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. There's just something about it that is super good at creeping you out when you're sitting in a dark room all by yourself, lol.
You're
The
not
movie
by
has
yourself.
a pretty decent runtime, and in the middle I was just like, man, they really just kind of have these long, boring stretches. And it's just kind of a movie you have to give attention to the whole time. I feel like if you're on your phone or you're kind of watching it in the background, you won't get why it's so good.
I wonder if he's even talking to his chat. I wonder.
Okay, so Nosferatu is definitely an old movie, and it definitely feels like an old movie, but I actually kind of like that about it. Like, when you go to these old movies, you kind of put up with the fact that it's going to feel kind of boring at times, but there's a lot of old movies, like old classic monster movies, that can be so entertaining because I can sit there and watch them and think, okay, this is just a movie from over 100 years ago, and I'm watching it. I have to use my imagination more. I have to admit that Nosferatu just kind of runs out of gas towards the end. Like, it's super good for a while, and then it just kind of feels like the movie is running out of steam, and then they just kind of finish the movie quickly. Like, sometimes I think the pacing changes a little because they were like, oh, we don't have much time left in this movie, and we have to get this ending in there.
It's just Shadow. It's just hard. He's talking so much. It's hard to feel like we're on a date when this guy is here just talking the whole time. I don't know what's happening in the movie right now. It's your wife has a beautiful neck. It's set on the screen.
He sits back in his seat, finally able to focus on the movie again, looking at it for a moment before speaking again, his voice returning to its quiet, soft state. Wow, he talked a lot.
Yeah, he did talk a lot. It was I can't believe I didn't know. I know he likes movies, but I didn't think he would be the type of person that would talk that much during a movie. This is crazy. Can you, up front, can you please keep it down? We're watching the movie.
One of the biggest weaknesses I feel like with a movie like Nosferatu is that it's super good for a little while, but as it goes on, I feel like my mind starts to wander and I have to be like, okay, I'm in a theater, we're watching Dracula right now. I better pay attention.
Yeah,
sometimes when you're in really long movies, you kind of have to force yourself to pay attention. If I'm really into a movie, I don't feel like I have to be like, I have to pay attention. It happens without effort.
Maybe he can't hear us because he has his headphones on. The music's really good. He's right about that.
It's like one of those movies that starts so strong and like the first 20 or so minutes are absolutely fantastic. But then you kind of have to keep an eye on the screen to make sure you don't miss anything.
Okay.
And I'll be honest, like sometimes when you're watching movies with friends, you kind of want to talk about what you're watching, and I feel like sometimes if you just talk too much, and I'm not usually the guy who talks too much when I'm watching a movie, but it's like sometimes you just have to be like, I think I'm gonna watch this movie with no talking, and that's so frustrating, like you have to stop talking.
Why is he doing this? Shadow, he won't stop talking and he won't leave. Can you say something to him? He's not listening to me. Whoa, you're like inching closer to him.
Shadow grumbles to himself when the human asks him to say something to the annoying person, him sighing very, very loudly, very reluctantly, slowly standing up and walking down to the front row where the person is sitting, standing in front of them and tapping their shoulder to get their attention.
Whoa, he's walking over there. Oh, hey Shadow, you're back. I saw you talking to him. What did you tell him?
Shadow glances back at the human for a moment, and then turns back to the person, still grumbling to himself, him sighing before he speaks. I told him to quiet down.
Okay, nice. Well, he's not talking anymore.
I'm a big fan of old movies, but sometimes they can just run on way too long.
Oh my god.
You just-
I think he might be leaving soon. Is he gonna leave?
So I'll be back in like 45 minutes. Sorry if I've been kind of rambling or if my commentary has been kind of poor.
Oh, he's leaving. Yay, he left.
Thank goodness.
I guess he had to go to Costco. Wow.
Northern Lion would not stop yapping. That sounds like the lie dog to me. Teeth 2, Shadow's pregnant. Kept getting interrupted in the theater. Oh my goodness.